Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new week of mindful productivity with myself, obviously, Tim Goertz. Um, in this week, I want to go a little bit um, deeper on a concept that is actually called atomic habits, habit building. And as I am now I'm hearing myself back. Okay, great. Um, so I really want to focus a little bit on that concept of. Let me go back to Notion. Like habit building specifically. I'm going to go over the notes that I had so far. I've read this book, or at least I created this note in November 20th, 2023. So it's relatively recent for me that I read that book. It's almost not possible. I read that book sooner. I think I created this note later on. But I want to take you through it because a lot of us are like struggling with productivity. And most often it's not actually the productivity, but it's the habit building, like creating that underlying supportive network and that will benefit you from growing. And it is something that I've wrote down here is because relatively this will be an easier, slower one. Let me move the camera just a little bit. Yeah, really amazing. Then you actually see my hands and I'm the golden rule, like the golden circle is actually more logically right now. Um, a lot of us are working on that base level of like wanting to be productive, wanting to have that maximal state of enjoyment of life instead of just focusing on managing time. But it's about integrating into a new level of being, into a new level of understanding without feeling that overwhelm or that stress or that busyness. Um, like I mentioned today, it will be a little bit smoother, softer, without much stress. I noticed last week I spoke a little bit more on that stress level. I noticed it for myself, how I was, how I felt. And right now it's a little bit more free flowing into that state of calmness. Um, yeah. So habit building. What is habit building? What are habits specifically? A very beautiful quote or quote like a description. What is atomic habits? And the definition of a habit is a routine or practice performed regularly on an automatic response to a specific situation. So this could be anything. This could be the way that I'm sitting. This could be the way that I have um, my window open or not. These could be like very many things, like the way that you respond on a certain situation. That is a habit. That's a learned trait that you've practiced over and over and over again, and that you perceive to be your quality. This is the way that you're always doing it. The tricky thing, the interesting thing appears when you become conscious about which behaviors are currently helping me and which of them are not helping me to achieve my goal. The question is, what exactly is the goal? That's a very personal question, and that's like goal setting, like actually tuning into like what do you want to achieve. Because it's not really about productivity. It's not about being productive or being more, having more output in a certain way or being more busy. Because quite often, I bit my lip a little bit. It's quite funny. It's quite often we connect that being productive with being even more busy, and that's something to be careful about. Because at least in my premise, in my belief system underneath, like being more productive equals having more freedom. I'm really working towards that freedom. And that's the underlying thought, or at least it is for me. And then being productive is more like aligning your own goals into the stuff that you want to create. So building good habits, like what kind of behavior are you showing that's helping you to achieve your goal? If you have your goal set, if you've done Livebook for example, or anything else, you can start to look at what kind of habits, what kind of behaviors am I doing that are helping me with this reality. So Atomic Habits is building good habits and breaking bad ones. And bad is not as in good or bad, like within that definition difference, but it's more like, this is not really helping me to achieve that reality of your vision, your life building. And like a very good thing that James Clear mentions, like atomic. An extremely small amount of a thing. And that's an interesting one. Because for me, like quite basically for me, like an habit that I want to integrate is drink more water. One of the tiniest steps to what I do is to actually have my water here. Actually have that actively present. So then me taking a sip of water, in a glass obviously, is less resistance comparison to me needing to walk downstairs and grab a glass of water and then come back. So that also means one of the bad habits that I have for my premise on health is coffee, caffeine. So what I do, like I still like my caffeine to be honest. So what I do is I reduce the resistance of me drinking water and I increase the resistance of having a cup of coffee downstairs. So the starting point is the distance already. And one of the other things that I did that I kind of well integrated already is not having sugar in the house. Like I really loved my sugar. And I know it's detrimental for my body. So it's a habit that I've kind of built. And now I've chosen like, okay, remove the surroundings, like actually the sugar within the house. It's not fully because I still have my like sauce and stuff like that, but it's a first step because I've had a lot of sugar in my coffee, like a lot. Like it's quite often quite funny. In the past it was so bad. If I had my glass, then that the spoon could actually like stand up on top of the sugar or in the sugar. So imagine that. I was like a very young teen and was actually, well, I can't really say that I was starting to drink coffee, but I did that until I was 18, 19, maybe 20. And then it slowly reduced. But oh, it was so terrible. Like the sugar addiction was so massive. And that's something that I've integrated and to this state as in, no sugar anymore. Most of the time. Sometimes I'm enjoying just a little bit. So that's like increasing the resistance. No, yeah, increasing the resistance for me having sugar. So that means no sugar in the house. The other one is less and less coffee. So practically right now, I only drink about 3, maybe 4 cups of coffee. It's quite a lot. That's a judgment, but it could be a lot. And it is like reducing even that level. Good. So that's the overarching one. And there is another one that I really was beneficial. That I kind of forgot in a certain way. And I want to like increase that one. like the 1% rule. What's the one thing that I can do better today or tomorrow in comparison to the day before? So this could be, what's a bad behavior that I'm doing? Having the cell phone in bed. That's something that I'm doing. And then actually having that outside of my bedroom directly, having my alarm clock, because a lot of us are struggling with, but I need it as an alarm clock. Well, okay, get it, but then it's the creating the environment around you so that you don't need the phone anymore, that you'll actually get bored in that state, and then get the alarm clock for you being present there. So building your surroundings around your habits. Because quite often, like, we don't really need to build habits, but we need to build the environment around you so that you can do the things that you needed to do, that you want to do, that are aligned with your goals. So that includes the 1% rule. Like, okay, how can I make this space that I have around me now better? For me, it's, for example, having that clean desk, which isn't fully present at this moment. But it's like, okay, so the 1% is at the end of each day, clean it out fully, having all of the notes, have everything gone, like fully empty. So I can start fresh tomorrow. That is really a beneficial one underneath all of this. And the compounding, if you do 1% better each day, then the compounding creates that you'll be, after you've done it for a year, you're almost 38 times better. Everything is a little bit relative comparison, like what is 1%? But the idea is start so slow that it feels like 1% improvement. Like really, really take it so slowly. So for example, this glass of water, like the first day is just having a glass of water here. Nothing else. Maybe not even filling it. If you're really like struggling with this, like just have that can there. Okay, second one is beginning at the day, like taking it downstairs and filling it and then having it there. Great. Third one is drinking or filling the glass or putting some water inside of the glass and then sipping it. It really sounds so arbitrary, but on the other hand, if you do this and you keep doing this, it actually gets integrated into your body. And that's the trick. As in, you're teaching your new body new hacks so that you don't have to actively think about like, I need to drink water, but I can't, and I don't want to. Like you're tricking your own body into behavior. So that's a very fun thing. And here's a very, very fun comment. Screw goals. Winners and losers have the same goals. And that's a very interesting one, which is kind of true. The purpose of setting goals is winning the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. So the question is a little bit, are you working on your goals or are you working to build your systems? Because you can have this year, next year, the year after that. Like what kind of systems are you building in that state, in that meantime? And that's such a powerful one that's underneath all of this. And something that James Clear also mentions, as far as I've written it down, goals construct our happiness. If you have a goal and you want to be that state, then that lack is kind of withholding you back from being happy and in this moment, like enjoying in this now. Instead of you building the system, so every step that you take, it's like, this is like a new level. Like it's even better, and it's even better. It feels like it's going a little bit less quickly, which it kind of is, but because it's compounding effect, the potential is limitless, to be honest. And that's a very interesting state to be in, to really like focus on, okay, what's going well, where are you currently in your workflow not performing the way that you want it to be. Having a clean inbox, for example. Having a clean inbox, for example, like a fully empty inbox. Like I mentioned this to people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that would be so amazing." Well, yeah. What if you have a clean inbox with barely any new incoming mails? Because even that incoming mails is something that you could control. It feels like that you're not in control, and the challenge here is to actually become in control. Because that is really possible. I don't want to say that I'm flawless in that myself, but it's getting better and better and better in comparison to the level that I was in. And that's a very interesting one to be in. And especially because I'm building systems. Right now I just sent a message as well on Facebook and for a possible option like working. And I'm like, okay, randomly I saw that and I saw his name, and what I do directly is adding that into my action list, as in, I'm waiting for a response on this guy. I'm not actively thinking about, I need to remember, like, this is one of the things that I have open and trying to remember all of the stuff. Because, like, the remembering in the brain is what holding us to grow to the next level. Like, the goal is to be not, I don't want to say it like mindless, but it's not like construed by thinking, like trying to memorize things, like all of the things that you try to remember, all of the busy ideas that you have inside of your mind. And that's if you can manage that, or manage, but at least like be in that state, you can find the calmness underneath all of this, underneath all of the chaos, all of the marketing, all of the sources. Because there's, that marketing side, so terrible. Terrible, but it's a lot of marketing is based on scarcity marketing. And that works. That's the painful one. Like, it works. Like, I almost need to start working on that as well. Like the scarcity mindset, the scarcity promotion in certain ways, scarcity marketing. But that is what holding us from actually tuning in and living in the now. Yeah, so that's a very important one underneath all of this. Good. So that's the one. Yeah, and this is like the identity shift. A friend of mine is very good at that stuff, but I'm not really not an expert on that just yet. What, like, in general, like, it's not about like the what, but you are like, it's not about creating that habit, like drinking water, as in, I need to drink water, I need to do this, I need to do that. But instead of changing that into your own identity, as in, I'm the one that's only drinking water, or at least healthy fluids, instead of those fluids that I know that can hurt me within my body, within my growth, within my health. So I am a healthy person that only takes in healthy foods and healthy drinks. That's kind of like the identity shift. So whenever someone offers me sugar, it's like, no, thank you, I'm okay. To be honest, I have that with alcohol right now. I barely drink alcohol anymore, because somewhere in December or January, I think, somewhere the switch became because someone mentioned alcohol is Arabic for body eating spirit. And while being in that state, I'm like, oh yeah, that really resonated with me. Like it kind of changed my whole level on that specific topic, which was a very interesting one. Good. Habit building a little bit further. Like I just mentioned in the beginning, as in it's about building good habits and breaking bad ones. But I can imagine that you're thinking like, yeah, Tim, but what does that mean? Like how? And the response that I have as a result is make fewer steps between you and good behavior and bigger steps between you and bad behavior that you personally define as bad. It really depends. So my water is good behavior, which is very close. So my interaction with it is lower steps, fewer steps. Me with my social media feed, for example, something that you can do as well. And we're going to do an exercise, by the way. I just thought about something. Using social media feed is like for me, it's already not on my homepage, not on my second page, but it's on my third page. Something that Vishen Lakhiani said within his productivity quest. He's like, okay, have your first page just the bare minimum, the essentials. The second one, the practical uses, like your shopping cart, your, I don't know, what's on mine, I really need to check. So what I have, like this is my home screen. Barely anything in it. Like my phone, my calendar, my clock, and my WhatsApp. Because kind of WhatsApp is my communication. Even WhatsApp is distraction, to be honest. And on the top, just the weather and the date. And the second one is a little bit more chaotic as well, but these are the practical tools that I use. So Spotify, Mindvalley, my mailbox, my password manager, ChatGPT, obviously, and Notion, stuff like that. And the third one, so these are the distractions. These are time-sucking ideas like Reddit, like Facebook, like Instagram. Spotify is here as well, so I kind of thought about them both ways. And having this separation really helps me personally already. So I'm not seeing Instagram directly at the beginning. Like I'm not thinking about like this Instagram because I often use it. I have a watch. Sorry, I have a watch myself because I really want to reduce like not looking at the phone and seeing my notifications. So if I'm curious about the clock, curious about time, then just watching here. And especially having that as an analog really helps for me personally. So basically, fewer steps between you and good behavior, and more steps between you and negative behavior, which is in this case Instagram, social media feed, if you haven't fully integrated that into your useful things. That doesn't mean that you can't enjoy specific things like that Instagram, because it could be like a very enjoyable practice. But then it's mindful joyness. And being in that state of, yeah, now I'm choosing to go to Instagram or to YouTube to actively go into that one. And I've done it now for a week now, I think. Like very actively, like, hey, this is the step that I want to take. And that really helps me into be more mindful of my social media usage. because I'm not going to delete it. Like be realistic. But I have moved it there, which is very good for me personally. Good. The exercise, and I'm going to do it together with you. Am I going to do that together with you? Yeah, I mean, why not? Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, like I said, I need to clean this stuff up because I still have my notes that I still need to do to process into the other one, into my Notion system as a second brain, as a personal acknowledgement system. And I still need to do 2 or 3. Oh no, only just 4 pages. Still 4 pages. So I haven't done that just yet. Let's start making the 5th. Good. I'm going to invite you to draw a line in the middle of your page and one of them as a title at the top. Like this one. Very simple. And on the left side, you start writing down write down on the top, good habits. And then bad habits. So that's basically just your frame. And then I'm going to invite you to lean into that state as in, okay, which habit is currently benefiting me for the version that I want to be, for my goals, for the person that I am. Could be many things. Like, feel free to also be like a bad behavior, for example. Could be, it doesn't have to be. So this is my interpretation about what I would mention as a bad behavior. Phone in bed. That's a bad behavior of mine, or not beneficial. Bad kind of has that negative association with it, but it's not beneficial for my way of how I want to live my life. Another bad habit is procrastinating. That's a big one that I'm also experiencing. Another bad habit is maybe not cleaning my house enough based on, or let me say it differently. What's the bad habit here? I'm leaving stuff out on the desk. That would be a bad habit. And I know, for example, this specific one as in leaving things out on the desk. For me, that's partially the reason as in, like, where to put it. Like, all of the stuff that I currently have here, it's like, okay, but where to put the stuff? I know my book goes into that place there. Like, that has a place to store that in. But all of the other stuff, I'm like, yeah, but like, where to? Instead of just throwing that into a basket and then putting it somewhere in the attic. So that wouldn't be beneficial because then, like, I need the stuff sometimes, not often, but sometimes. So it's thinking about pragmatically, like, what kind of system can you put in place to make this happen properly, or how to reduce the negative behavior of filling it up, and how to increase the positive behavior of having a clean desk. Good. And then we lean into, so feel free to think about more bad habits and actually having it placed there. Because even me, like, I'm very into this kind of stuff, to think about it. Like, what is my bad habit? is also something how I respond. Is it something that I want to, like, what is seriously a bad habit of mine? Well, yeah, I do experience some level of judgment that I feel like doing that as if I'm doing that. It could be that I'm not actually doing that deliberately, but I feel it um, in my voice sometimes, and I don't know if people pick it up or do it unconsciously pick it up. Um, but I feel like that judging is a bad habit of mine. Let's let's be vulnerable here and let's share the knowledge that I have. Um, because it kind of starts with being vulnerable in this state together with all of you guys. So that's the thing. Judgment is a bad habit. Yeah, and feel free to be like 4 hours of Netflixing each day. Well, you could decide upon that that's a bad habit. That doesn't mean that the result is you're not allowed to do that anymore. But first, that friction of yeah, that is a bad habit. Or I'm always late. That is a bad habit. Or um, I'm not doing the stuff that I say that I would have done. Also a bad habit. Or not beneficial habit. Um, like not eating healthy, for example, because it's like easier to get to go to McDonald's and eat something there. That's kind of like a bad habit that it first starts with identifying your bad habit specifically, and later on we can process that. But feel free to write everything down. I'm going to do that for myself as well, most probably after this one, because I really need to tune into that. Like going over my days, yeah, that's a very practical one. Like go over the day that you had this morning. Like you woke up. Do you feel like that you did that correctly? Like, is there anything that wasn't really in line with your thing? Like, did you do the first thing? For example, I didn't drink water until maybe an hour later, something like that. I didn't do my breathwork exercise this morning. Kind of should have done that. Should like it's not a judgment, but it's the bad behavior is. No, it's not a specific good one. What is a bad behavior that I did? It's quite difficult to mention them. And that's the tricky one about bad habits. It's ingrained in your subconscious. Like one of them is like my nail biting. Got no idea how to like properly take care of my nails like really well. Like there's a lot of stuff there. Um, I kind of hate it. Like I really hate my tendency to bite nails. Um, so nail biting, nail biting. Um, and then maybe this is an even funner exercise. Write down the good habits that you have or that you want to have. A bad habit for me, by the way, drink coffee. And a good habit would be water drinking. My breathwork exercise. So it was quite nice, by the way, regarding that breathwork. We've got more enough time. Um, I just did an exercise where I went into not really hyperventilating, but saturating my oxygen level inside of my body. So normally it's around, I don't know, 95%, something like that. And we measure that, and you're increasing that into the 100. And then you're holding your breath in such a state that your saturation actually, your oxygen level reduces. And then first time I got to 83%, which was relatively good for the first time. The second time I went to 60. And then I went to a little bit higher. He didn't really, like, probably was around 70%. But then I was able to hold my breath for 2.5 minutes, which is quite an interesting depth of journey. Yeah, but that was the breath work. So that's something that I'm going to integrate into my habits. Like, I'm going to create me here because I have a place to lay down if I want to here, like with my yoga mat. Like, being in that state of the music is already on. I know what I'm going to, which music that I want to add upon that. So every time that I'm coming here, it's like my watch is there. So I have my timer, I have my notes, writing it down. These are the instructions. This is what you need to do. This is like me being almost so autistic, like being in the positive way. Like, I am choosing to make the system first, and then I'm going to be a part of that system instead of like having my ego like, yeah, I'll do this tomorrow morning. Yeah, tomorrow morning, and then I'm kind of forgetting all of these little details, little tricks. So creating a system around that. So breath work is one of the good habits that I want to do. Um, like a little bit more flossing, taking care of my teeth, just doing that properly because I don't do that as properly as I can. Teeth, yeah, taken care of. I don't know. Verzorging. Of teeth. Okay. Um, what else? What else? What is a good behavior that I want to integrate? Well, exercising, like high intensity interval training once every week. That's something that I want to do. Hit. Also, like eating fresh food, like fresh. Like, and feel free to write down exactly the stuff that you want. If you want to build a good habit of going into the sauna once a month, because you feel like that will reset your body, write it down as a good habit. And that's the thing. Like, what do you want to grow towards? Feel free to write it down. Because if going to the sauna is helping you, that you call that a good habit for you for your goal, and it's like, okay, how can you create that properly? You need to have the money for that. Not everyone has the money to go once a month to the sauna. The other one, you need to have time. You need to have someone to go with or go alone. You need to have the car. Like, how can you reduce that friction into you going there? Like, which one do you like that one? Like, there are so many little steps that can withhold you from taking that step. And if you write it down as in this is a good habit that I want to do, like tuning in, like which kind of steps do you currently have? Is there somewhere friction upon that? Because if there isn't friction, then you would be doing it. That's the thing. Whenever you decide that, as in, this is a good habit, then you're probably not doing it yet or not doing it yet well enough comparison to how you want it to be. And that's a very interesting one. Um, because, like, based on all of these things, for me, like, these are good habits of stuff that I don't do just yet. Because for me, stuff like what is something that I have integrated already? like sitting up straight. Like when I'm working, I'm really sitting up straight. Like I'm not really lazy most of the time when I'm working. Like my posture is quite good when I'm working. Right now I'm a little bit relaxing and sitting backwards, but this is something that I don't really need to write down because I've already integrated that into my being. Same as having no sugar anymore. Like I've kind of integrated that, so I don't need to write it down anymore. Um, and what are other things? Yeah, so this is a list that can grow. So I invite you to actually have that list stored it somewhere. You can do that digitally, but also on paper. Like this is the list of starting points. So this is your capture of your habits, identifying your habits first, your good ones and the bad ones, and then later on tune into like how can I reduce the resistance on the phone in bed. Now how can I increase the behavior that I want to have? Well, instead of having a phone but you're bored, having a book there and having an alarm clock there. Or instead of a book, have um, something else like a CD player, like a listening, something that you're listening to. Like if that step is too big for most people, as in the phone into the audio, or no, sorry, instead of a phone, then actually having a book. If you're feeling like, oh, this is way too big of a step, great. Then um, get a music player there and listen to an audio um, version, like or a song or a specific story written out, like spoken out. Um, because then your mind is triggered enough, but it's reduced that whole level of scrolling and searching and that whole um, that dopamine surge, because dopamine is a very big topic in this state. Good. If you've written down your good and your bad behaviors, then the easiest thing, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know which one is easier. If it's easier to build your good habits or to reduce your bad ones. And in that ideal situation, you kind of want to integrate those two with each other. As in, a good behavior is, for example, like stopping with the computer work after 10 p.m., not having any screens anymore, any blue light. And then, um, so bad behavior is working on the PC every night. And then it's like, it would be kind of good to to read a book the last hour of your day, or to have something that you can tune into. And so that would be a good changing bad behavior into a good one. Like I'm not an expert in this specifically. Like it kind of makes sense, all of it, but quite often we don't do it because we feel like that step is too big. And what I actually like agreed upon here is that I'll stop using the computer at 10 p.m. in the evening. And then I'm going downstairs. Downstairs, I'm still watching TV, but at least it's not actively working in programming, doing, thinking, like, how is everything like connected? So that's already like, it seems like a minimum step, and it seems like that I'm still not blocking blue light, because watching the TV is also like blue light. But at least it's like a little bit calming down, like let me watch a movie, like. So it's already a step into my ideal version of me. Yes, so that's a big one. Um, hmm. Well, I'm very curious, by the way, if you guys like the state of this free flowing, just a 1 hour of talking. And if you prefer having a presentation, like what kind of subject do you like to have as a result? Because especially like packaging my skills, the knowledge that I've like gathered in my life, making that available for those people around me, I find that to be the tricky part sometimes. Like what kind of questions come up? What kind of answers can I give the people? And when I'm hearing something somewhere, then I don't want to give the correct answer, but it's also the really listening to the pain points, like identifying the pain points and then cutting right through that underneath it. And sometimes I have the tendency, I don't know if that's the bad behavior, the judgment part of wanting to go underneath all of it and say like, like this is the thing. Because quite often what I see is it scares people away if you go too deep, too quickly. So that's something that I'm tuning into myself. Yeah, good. Let me grab the book because I barely actually spoke about the book itself. And the book is so amazing. Yeah, let me see if I can find a new interesting one. Yeah, and James Clear talks about a concept of cue, craving, response, and reward. So that's kind of how an habit is actually built underneath all of this, or what an action is built out of. Let me say it differently. And you choosing like in every one of these good habits or bad habits, like writing down the cue, the craving, the response, the reward. So for me, the coffee is, yeah, what's the cue? Me being thirsty in a certain way? Well, I don't know. I find it difficult to actually mention that, but that's something that Marianne perhaps could like tune into. Like, what is the cue in this specific situation? How can we find that one? And really leaning into that slowly, like, okay, what's going on? What's the thing? So I'm not a specialist in this. I'm not a specialist in everything. Well, barely anything, to be honest. Let's be realistic. Um, yeah, make it obvious. That's a, that's a good one as well. Make it obvious that you're doing the stuff that you do, that you want to do. Like having your yoga mat here already, like with your clock, with your music, with everything, just like it's there. Make it obvious that your music is already here in that state of pressing play and then it happens. Um, yeah, that's a very powerful underlying one. Yeah, and one of the things that I've been struggling with, including like the house that I've grew up in, is that the environment didn't support me into having good behaviors. And that's why I'm now leaning into a digital system on helping me to do good behaviors, basically. But I want to create that in the house as well. Like the house, the environment supports your good behaviors. If you have your running clothes already set and ready in a package, then it's easier to go there and like undress yourself, grab your sporty outfit and then actually go to that yoga mat or go do your training or go do your breathwork exercises. Instead of you needing to search for like the shoes everywhere, like the socks, still need to go to the drawer to get the old stuff from the basket. That is like creating resistance before you can do the positive thing. And it sounds so arbitrary. Like it really does. It really is. But partially, it's about remembering the stuff that works. Because every piece of information, everything that I say, including in my whole productivity stuff, it's kind of obvious, but we need to be remembered upon that. Because we have been, well, like maybe lost or misdirected into like other behaviors. Like we're being sedated, like instead of you doing there, let's have some sugar. It's okay. You'll feel better. You'll feel energetic. Or that's nice to have a cup of coffee and just enjoy that cup of coffee. It's a nice feeling. It's coming together. It's a nice feeling. Where if you're having a break, yeah, let us get a coffee. And that's been trained behavior that might not work for you anymore. It could be that coffee is a good one for you personally at this time. Could be. No idea. And that stuff like alcohol is the stuff that is your bottleneck. And I really want to tune into like focus on your bottleneck. What's the most pressing thing for you at this time? Like what's the biggest 1%? Obviously, but what's the biggest thing that will have the biggest bang for one thing? And really take it slow if you want to start with leaning into the good habits and removing the bad habits. Like choose one thing and then increase or reduce the resistance for that one thing. Like only one of those. So for example, like drinking water. Great. Drinking water only means having that that can here. Just that. One thing. Because quite often we skip over 5, 6, 7, 8 levels. And we're like, yeah, I'll drink 2 liters of water each day from now on. Like, no, you won't. And it's okay to be a little bit slower and pragmatic into your growth. Really lean into it. Because it's not about tomorrow, it's not about next week, it's not about next month. But it's about you doing this for 3 months. You tuning into every level of growth. And that's where the power is. That's where the potential is. Because the potential is truly limitless. Good. I should have said, or should say, all right, instead of good. Because apparently in the English language, good is something that doesn't come over properly. I'm thinking about the person that said it right now. So it's the question is like, okay, all right. I'm going to close it off with this one. So, yeah, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.